Sometimes, a film comes along that captures the hearts and minds of audiences the world over. Oftentimes, it can't be predicted or anticipated beforehand. Movies are made that are so successfully critically and financially that they leave studios grasping to find similar magic for years afterward. The magic in 2022 came from Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick opened to a weekend of $126 million, and that would only scratch the surface of the success that this film would go on to have. Since then, the film has grossed approximately $1.48 billion worldwide. In addition, the film has raving reviews, scoring 96% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, a 99% positive score with audiences, an 8.3 out of 10 rating on IMDb, and an A+ cinema score rating. But this just doesn't happen by chance. Big budget tentpole films that are this popular aren't made overnight. It takes thousands of people, tens of thousands of hours to make something like this. So what made this film stand out from the hundreds of other films that debuted in 2022? Was it the stellar direction? The outstanding score? The star power of Tom Cruise? All of these obviously contributed to the wild success of Top Gun Maverick, but we can go further back to find where the seeds of success were planted for this film. The script, and in particular, the conflict that arises in the film. So let's take a quick look at the story. More than 30 years after graduating from Top Gun, United States Navy Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell is a test pilot. The film opens with Rear Admiral Chester Hammer Kane as he plans to cancel Maverick's hypersonic Dark Star scramjet project in favor of funding drones. To save the project, Maverick changes the target speed for that day's test from Mach 9 to the final contract specification of Mach 10. Tragically, the prototype aircraft is destroyed when he can't resist pushing the craft beyond its limits. Iceman saves Maverick's career by assigning him to the Top Gun school at NAS North Island for his next assignment. At Top Gun, the Navy has been tasked with destroying an unsanctioned uranium enrichment plant located in an underground bunker at the end of a canyon before it becomes operational. Sound familiar? The bunker is defended with a litany of defenses, including surface-to-air missiles, GPS jammers, and 5th generation Su-57 fighters. Maverick devises a plan employing 2 pairs of FA-18EF Super Hornets armed with laser-guided bombs, but he learns that he will not be participating in the strike and will instead be training an elite group of Top Gun graduates. Maverick dogfights his skeptical students and wins every contest, winning their respect. Lieutenants Jake Hangman Saracen and Bradley Rooster Bradshaw clash. Rooster dislikes Hangman's cavalier attitude, while Hangman criticizes Rooster's cautious flying. Maverick reunites with former girlfriend Penny Benjamin, to whom he reveals that he promised Rooster's dying mother that Rooster would not become a pilot. Rooster resents Maverick throughout the film, believing that he was the cause of his father's death, as well as knowing that it was because of Maverick that it took him so long to become a pilot. Maverick is tested by Rooster throughout the course of the film. Maverick is reluctant to further interfere with Rooster's career, but the alternative is to send him on the extremely dangerous mission. He confides in Iceman, who has terminal throat cancer. Iceman advises that it's time to let go, and reassures him that both the Navy and Rooster need Maverick. After Iceman dies, Cyclone removes Maverick as instructor after a training accident where an aircraft is lost. Cyclone relaxes the mission parameter, making it easier to complete but more difficult to escape afterward. During Cyclone's announcement, Maverick makes an unauthorized flight through the course with his preferred parameters, proving that it can be done. Cyclone reluctantly appoints Maverick as team leader. I'm not going to spoil the end of the film, but it is action-packed, wild, and meets all of your expectations. But from this outline, this seems like a pretty standard by-the-books film. What makes it stand out so much? Why was it so impactful with audiences? After carefully examining the film, I think that the reason it is so good is because this story effectively utilizes conflict. Every story, boiled down to its essence, contains conflict. A character against some form of antagonism is what creates conflict. There are essentially 6 conflicts that a movie can contain. These are man versus man, man versus self, man versus nature, man versus society, man versus technology, and man versus God. Spoiler alert for these following movies: Top Gun Maverick, The Dark Knight, Fight Club, The Dawn Wall, V for Vendetta, The Terminator, and Les Miserables. Man vs. Man is perhaps the staple of film. Nearly every movie incorporates this method of conflict, from dramas to action to comedy. Let's take a look at The Dark Knight and see how Christopher Nolan utilizes man versus man to create conflict in this masterpiece. Batman is the main character of The Dark Knight, and Nolan pits him against his true foil, the Joker. In everything that Batman stands for, order, good, and justice, the Joker is an effective foil. When Batman brings a corrupt Chinese businessman to Gotham to face justice, Joker eliminates him. When Batman builds up Harvey Dent to become Gotham's White Knight, the Joker pulls a loose thread, kills Rachel, and turns Harvey into the evil Two-Face. In everything, at every turn, Nolan presents Batman with the Joker. He is constantly pushing Batman and testing him. While man versus man might be the quintessential external conflict, man versus self is the internal conflict. Nothing allows us to relate to a character quite like watching them struggle with themselves. Whether we are watching ourselves reflected in the character, or we are watching a close friend that we empathize with, man versus self is an extremely effective form of conflict. Let's look at Fight Club and observe David Fincher's use of man versus self. Edward Norton's the narrator becomes dissatisfied with his job, and as we learn at the end of the film, becomes at odds with a soap salesman, Tyler Durden, who is the narrator himself. David Fincher has a unique vision of what a visual representation of man versus self might look like, and the conflict that builds, especially once the narrator realizes that he and Tyler Durden are the same person. The film slowly builds the narrator and Tyler Durden as the narrator begins to realize that he and Tyler may not hold the same beliefs that he previously thought they did. The man versus self conflict tests the narrator as he must grapple with himself. Man vs. Nature explores the often tumultuous relationship that we share with Mother Earth and the universe that surrounds us. Whether it is the elements, a biome, or the Earth itself, we struggle against it in our own lives, and we can relate to characters who are struggling against it in the movies that they are in. Let's look at The Dawn Wall and see how Tommy Caldwell tackled nature. The extremely compelling documentary The Dawn Wall is a stellar example of man's fight against nature. The documentary follows Tommy Caldwell as he attempts what no other human has succeeded in doing before, scaling the Dawn Wall of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. One man's mission to overcome this elemental force to heal from past trauma, spending 28 days attempting to scale this monstrosity, and doing it while the world watched, is an incredible testament to the resilience and the strength that humanity can achieve, the obstacles that we can overcome, and the trials that we can endure. Man versus society pits an individual against the belief systems of an entire group, generally the world in which they live. They are the tree that plants itself against the river and refuses to negotiate on their ideals, to bow to the will of others, even if that means they are persecuted, abused, or even killed for them. Let's look at V for Vendetta and see how V attempts to fight an entire society to stop a regime. V for Vendetta follows an anarchist and masked freedom fighter who attempts to ignite a revolution against a fascist and authoritarian regime. His path throughout the film is one of systemic acts of terrorism to take down the society that wronged him and those whom he loved. In the end, V is killed, but not before he ignites the flames of rebellion against the Norse Fire Party. Man vs. Technology begs the question, what happens when the technology that we continually seek to advance turns on the masters that have created it? This conflict stems from our desire to understand the technology that we create, and to wonder whether or not it may become sentient and problematic enough not to need us anymore. Oftentimes, this conflict is explicit, though sometimes it may be implicit as well. Let's look at the Terminator and observe how Sarah Connors and Kyle Reese must destroy the Terminator in order to save humanity. Two men arrive in 1984 Los Angeles with vastly different purposes. One man seeks to save humanity by protecting Sarah Connors and her child. The other is a cybernetic assassin who is programmed to hunt and kill her. Sarah Connors must learn to trust Kyle Reese from the future and choose to follow him in order to save her own life. In the end, Kyle sacrifices himself to save Sarah, and the two of them are able to successfully destroy their mutual technological enemy, the Terminator. Perhaps one of the most difficult conflicts to explain, this conflict is also often referred to as man versus fate. Though we may struggle to put it into words, it is something that all of us have thought about before. What is our destiny? What is our path? How do we deal with it? Can we change the fate that has been laid out for us? The movie musical Les Miserables' main character, The movie musical Les Miserables main character. Wow. The movie musical Les Miserables main character, Jean Valjean, struggles to align himself with his god. Set in France in the 19th century, Les Miserables follows Jean Valjean as he goes from a convict to a philanthropist who saves the life of a young girl. The film explores the theme of man versus God and seeks to answer the question of, can a man change the destiny that has been appointed for him? Les Miserables determines that this answer is yes. Though Jean Valjean begins the film as a conflict, the lowest of the low, he finds redemption and then spends the rest of the film seeking to better himself and his fellow man. How does Top Gun Maverick utilize conflict to create such an impactful film? Which of these conflicts does it use? To my surprise, I found that Top Gun Maverick incorporated 5 of these 6 conflicts. And you could argue that it uses all 6, but I'm just going to focus on the primary 5 that I found. Joseph Kosinski, the director of the film, puts Maverick through 5 different forms of conflict throughout the movie, forcing Maverick to grow and change. He is forced to make decisions, reckon with himself, and consider things that he has pushed away for many years. So let's take a look at the 5 conflicts that Kosinski pushes Maverick through and how they force Maverick to become a strong character that then leads to a strong movie. One of the core relationships of the film is the relationship between Maverick and Bradley Rooster Bradshaw. Rooster is the son of Goose, Maverick's best friend and co-pilot who died in the original film. Unbeknownst to Rooster, Maverick promised his mother on her deathbed that he wouldn't become a pilot. Brewster resents Maverick throughout the film, believing that he was the cause of his father's death, as well as knowing that it was because of Maverick that it took him so long to become a pilot. Maverick is tested by Rooster throughout the film, and Rooster makes Maverick deal with the trauma that Maverick still has about Goose's death. Rooster, for his part, needs to grow into the pilot that Maverick needs for the mission of the film. Maverick has to grow and understand that what he thought was helping Rooster was preventing his growth and was doing more harm than good. Throughout the film, Maverick doubts himself. He doubts the choices that he made in regard to Rooster and the effect that it might be having on the boy. Because of this, he goes to Iceman for guidance. Iceman tells him that it's time to let go and that Rooster needs Maverick. When Iceman dies, Maverick has to find it within himself to trust not only Rooster, but himself. He has to come to terms with the actions that he has committed, and he has to rise above them, becoming the fighter pilot that will lead the mission and bring his team home. The final confrontation of the film is the final mission that the team has been training for the whole film. They have to attack an enemy installation that needs to be destroyed. Every member of the team has to work to continue getting better, so they will be able to complete the mission. Not only that, but unless the team overcomes nature, they will immediately be shot down and they will die. The cost of running the trench too slow is also death. And yes, it is very reminiscent of the trench run from Star Wars, but we're going to look past that. Kosinski, already breaking Maverick from the inside, also breaks Maverick from the outside. The strain that he puts on his team, the pressure that they are under, begins to show throughout the course of the film and the training. Maverick is in constant conflict with society throughout both films. He is a rule breaker and he puts himself in danger to complete the mission. From the first scene of the movie, Maverick learns that the special operation that he and his team are on is about to be shut down. This prompts him to go ahead with the test anyways and disobey orders to shut the project down. Inevitably, this means that Maverick is in constant trouble with his superiors, and he often looks to Iceman to get him out of predicaments that land him in the deep crap that he finds himself in. This is a common thread throughout both films. But when Iceman dies, Maverick no longer has that safety net and finds that he has been kicked off of the mission. In the end, though, Maverick is good enough to get the job done, and his success gains him the admiration of his superiors. The final conflict that Maverick and his team must overcome is technology. Maverick and his team must learn to be better pilots so that they can destroy the bunker where all of the enemies are creating nuclear armaments. The team is forced to improve, otherwise they are going to be sitting ducks for the missile systems that are protecting the bunker. Top Gun Maverick shines as one of the great action films of 2022. Not only did it have great characters and fantastic action, but the film was impactful and it left audiences feeling wonder, excitement, and thrill. Kosinski and his team realized that by using multiple conflicts well, you end up with a stronger film that pushes the characters to grow and change more than they would if they were only faced with one form of conflict. It's rare to see a film capture the magic of filmmaking to such a high degree. but for me, Top Gun Maverick was one of those few movies. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I encourage you to check out some of the other projects that I've done on this channel. Please like and subscribe to help my videos rise through the algorithm. I'm hoping to continue to make more of these in 2023 and just explore my love of movies more. Thank you guys, and have a great rest of your day.